Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Magick Witchcraft Occultism. This is episode 10, part 2 on the subconscious mind and the Sacral Heart and Third Eye Chakra. Now, two quick things. First, this episode, or this part of this episode, came out a lot faster than I first expected, unlike the previous episode on the subconscious mind, which took me about a month to make. This came together in about 2 weeks or so. So I think the next episode, or the third part in the series, is going to come out much faster. And I think I can get that one out before the end of this year. My second one is I like to mention how I went over the conscious mind and the three chakras that were associated with it. This is, once again, part of my personal research, a part of my personal philosophy, and how I relate the conscious mind, or in this case, the subconscious mind, to 3 out of the 7 chakras. Now, before we begin, please remember to like, share, subscribe, click the little notification bell so you never miss an episode, so I stop getting lost in the YouTube algorithm, as I'd really appreciate that. Alright, let us begin. The subconscious mind and chakras. Just as I said before, as it relates to the conscious mind, the subconscious mind is also associated with 3 out of the 7 chakras, which can be seen as a simpler perspective on several different occult philosophy, systems, and practices that have become intertwined together. Since I've already gone over this information on the episode on the conscious mind and chakras, I'm not going to repeat this information needlessly. So if you want to know about that, please reference back to that episode. As time is always working against me, as I'm always trying to give you the most information in the shortest period of time, so I just have to skip some things I've already gone over. Now, this episode is on the subconscious mind as it relates to sacral, heart, and third eye chakra specifically. Now, it's important for you to understand what the subconscious mind primarily concerns itself with on the most basic level. And as I said before, that is the instinctual and the emotional. To exemplify this, the relationship between our desire, emotion, and perception, as well as our regrets from the past and how that influences the present and onto the future actions and reactions. Now I like to explain the 3 basics but supremely important aspects of these chakras and how they interact with the subconscious mind individually. It's also important to keep in mind that unlike the conscious mind, the subconscious mind is never at rest, meaning it's always active, especially when you're asleep and when you're at rest and when you're dreaming. And we'll get to that eventually. All right. The subconscious mind and the sacral chakras. The subconscious mind is concerned with all of your desires in every respect. Your physical, your sexual, your social, your mental, even your spiritual desires. It's all encompassing, as well as all of your regrets that are equally associated with these aspects of our lives. These aspects of the subconscious mind can be known or unknown even to you, the individual. To be clear, it's important to keep in mind desire can take many forms, but when you use a word that is descriptive such as desire, the mind goes to one place, first of all, and that place is generally associated with physical gratification. Now, this is only one small aspect of desire, but there are many avenues desire can take, such as attaining wealth, success, fame, having a family, or attaining a very specific goal, traveling to parts unknown, to be a stranger in a strange land. Now, before you can achieve any of these goals, in the conscious mind, through conscious action and conscious effort, you must first desire. And this desire comes from the subconscious mind, meaning you have to want something before you go through the process of attaining it. Even though any one of these goals may be out of your reach compared to your station in life at the moment, that does not mean it will always be so. Now, it's important to keep in mind that desire is not exclusively associated with sexual experiences, but it is one of the most common experiences or expressions of desire. Since it's one of the most tangible aspects of desire, let us take some time to examine this further. When it comes to physical gratification or a sexual experience, this can be found in one of 3 categories: known and accepted, known and denied, or unknown. Known and accepted. If your desired pleasure is known to you, the individual, and you are able to indulge in whatever pleases you, To the extent your desires are satisfied and within the areas of your personal moral compass, as well as social and religious norms, there should be no adverse reaction relating to having any regrets about them. Known and denied. Now, very briefly, if this next part sounds like I'm speaking directly to you, there's a good reason for that. I wrote it to be so vague, it's meant to sound like I'm talking directly to you for this. As most people have something they want that they deny themselves for any number of reasons, and we're going to examine that a little bit closer. If a person's desire is known to the individual and they have a craving to engage in a sexual act, you're consciously denying yourself for any number of different reasons. Those reasons are usually related to either a social or religious dogma that are not acceptable within traditional societal norms. This denial of yourself may cause your subconscious mind or create a subconscious yearning that can present itself in several different ways, usually on some variation of guilt. These thoughts could lead to a sense of self-loathing, as what you've been taught, perhaps through childhood, goes against a natural impulse that can cause a person to exhibit behavior that can be either self-destructive or being overcompensating for something. Meaning, this can cause a person to act in a negative or harmful way directed towards their longing as an attempt of self-denial, or can take on a persona that is geometrically opposed to their desire. When either of these possibilities occur or these scenarios occur, it can cause a person to secretly seek out the source of their desire, fulfilling a need to pursue for their preferences, while leading a double life, so the individual may be able to maintain the facade that would maintain a social stability in their life. Either way, this will lead to a deep and profound sense of regret. To quote an old saying, it's a guilty pleasure, meaning the source of your greatest pleasure is also the source of your greatest guilt, hence regret. Unknown. Now, if a person's desired pleasure is unknown, that may be because the right set of circumstances may not have yet presented themselves to fully determine your individual preferences. Through any number of different experiences you as an individual may have or may come across, you may experience or witness situations that you may want to have for yourself in your own personal life. A good example of this is when the expression of wealth and opulence are put on display. This can simultaneously trigger a desire to have and possess these experiences or these expressions of wealth, while on the other hand, at the same time, it can also create a feeling of regret as you do not have them, and you may not have any idea of how to achieve these things or experiences yet, or at least not at this moment. This is an example of desire that may be unknown to you, but that can present itself to you. As you can see, it can be very easy for your desire to overwhelm you and become a destructive force in your life instead of a constructive force. It's important to keep in mind, just like anything else, desire is not inherently good nor bad. It's how it motivates you to achieve what you want or what you desire, to attain these things or the expression of these things, either through more or less altruistic means, depending on individuality. Something important to keep in mind. Since the examples I primarily are directed towards physical gratification, it might be a good time to mention that the sacral chakra is concerned with pleasure and is blocked by guilt. And guilt is another way of saying regret. So something to keep in mind. The subconscious mind and the heart chakra. The subconscious mind concerns itself with our emotion and our emotional state of mind, or how we feel about any given topic or experience, as every experience affects us in either a positive, a neutral, or a negative way. In turn, these experiences become part of us. They become a mirror of self-reflection, and they also become a mirror of how we're going to treat people in the short and the long term. This is why the environment and the people that surround us when we're very young shape us, if we like it or not. in ways that are both seen and unseen, or known and unknown. This is especially poignant in our youth, especially the time between the ages of 1 to 7 years of age. At this point, the mind is more open and susceptible to suggestion. In other words, the mind is open to being programmed. This is why the first years of our life are so important, as they will come to define us and who we are or who we're going to be on a core level. Example, if you're around violent people, you're more than likely going to become a violent person as an adult. If you're around caring and compassionate and understanding people in an environment where the people are trying to teach you and guide you and protect you, you are more than likely going to become a good and altruistic person, striving to do what is right, even if everyone else around you is doing the wrong thing, such as robbing others or in some way harming others. There are many forms this can take, and there are far too numerous to mention here. These actions are obviously negative in alignment. These always come from a place of pain and sorrow, a lonely place that is filled with grief in a place of love. As empathy comes from a place of love, from that you gain compassion, and that aids you in understanding others. As you can see, the subconscious mind is intimately connected to your past traumas as they relate to love and grief. There's an old adage, love conquers all, and this is more true than you might first think, or you might first know. Forgiveness comes from love. Sometimes you forgive not for others' well-being, but for yourself. For you can live in a prison of your own making, but you also have the key to escape, and that key is forgiveness. When you can honestly forgive someone for some past transgression, regardless of what it is, you become free. And then, and only then, after you have found forgiveness for either yourself or for someone else, this is when you can move on, or you can move forward and find peace within inside of yourself, as this portion of the subconscious mind allows the mind to heal. And from a more magical standpoint, it's where the energy of the body comes for healing magic. But we'll eventually get to topics like that. If and when this time occurs for a person in their own time, this is when an individual may start to walk a new path. A virtuous path that no longer has the need for greed to possess all they can for no other reason than they can. This is why greed is balanced by charity. For after you have enough mundane wealth, love, or satisfaction on an emotional level, you no longer have a need for greed. Instead, you have room in your heart for charity, to share what you have with others. This could be monetary wealth, but it could also be knowledge or a wealth of experience that you can share and pass on to others, to either help get them back on the path of righteousness, or at least get them started on a new path. This is a more benevolent instead of a malevolent, or help someone stuck on a path or the point of neutrality. As they may be teetering between two different paths, you may be able to help them move forward in some small way. The inertia of your actions can have a greater and more impactful effect than you might first realize. Even a small act of kindness may be all that is needed. This would be a good time to mention that intention is not everything. Let me say that again. Intention is not everything. This is important to understand. Your attention or intention at times may be to help someone, but if they're unkind to you or reject you, you may retract your help. You are going to give, and that action or inaction can cause them to go down the opposite path you intended. Sometimes, or something to keep in mind, there's an old adage, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Moving on. The subconscious mind and the third eye chakra. The subconscious mind is concerned with your perception and your awareness of your surroundings. Now, there are two types of perception. The first relates to either being aware or unaware of mundane perception, and the second is the seen or the unseen, which is for either ethereal or magical awareness. Now, I created the separation between the two to help for the purposes of explanation and for perspective, as each of these sound like they're the same thing, but they cover different topics. Now, as I said before, each of the three minds will impose either a subtle or direct influence on one another, and the reason why that is the subconscious mind is in control of the third eye chakra is because most of your perception or your awareness is on a subconscious level. When you see, hear, smell, taste, or touch, these are physical aspects of perception, which are generally part of the conscious mind. Would be a direct influence, for example. But you're only aware of a small portion of all of the different aspects. Example, wherever you are right now, stop and look around. Just pause this video for a second and look at your surroundings. Then I want you to name everything you can see and take a mental note of everything. And then look again, but this time be more careful. Move your eyes more slowly. Be deliberate in this action. And you'll start to notice many small details you missed the first time, because now the second time around, you're now viewing the room with a clear and a focused mind, paying close attention to every aspect of the room. Now you see everything and you miss nothing. Now you will notice all of the little minute details you missed the first time. Now all of those details the subconscious mind became aware of instantaneously upon viewing them, even though the conscious mind was unaware of them, even though you may have looked right at them. But they did not register in your mind. These things didn't register in your mind because they were trivial or of no great importance. Now, if we take that same example and then apply it to the real world, the subconscious mind is always taking all of the information in around you that you're not consciously aware of. Now, the subconsciously, you were using this information all the time, such as it relates to threat assessment of your surroundings. The best example of this is when you have what is known as goosebumps. Now, what are goosebumps exactly? Goosebumps are a holdover from our ancient past. They're when the hair on our body stands up to make us look bigger or more dangerous or more threatening. If there was a threat from whatever was unperceived, you would instantly know there was a threat and prepare yourself for it. This is how and why the subconscious mind is aware of hidden dangers that your conscious mind is not. Your conscious mind wasn't able to detect. But you know something is wrong without knowing something is wrong. You know you're in some kind of danger. This is the most basic level of understanding of your own awareness before you move on to areas of magic that are the seen and the unseen, which leads us to the understanding of how the subconscious mind is connected to the third eye chakra. This portion of the mind is concerned with insight and is blocked by illusion, both of a mundane and a magical sense. Alright, now I'm going to cut it here so I don't go over 20 minutes. Now I like to quickly mention that I had another 10 or 15 minutes to talk about on the subconscious mind and how it relates to the third eye chakra, but this video would just be way too long for that. And if you think it was long, you have no idea how much I cut out. Keep that in mind. Alrighty here. The next video on the subconscious mind and magic will be out shortly because I really don't have a lot to write about that, as there's not a lot to write about the subconscious mind and magic itself. Now, that might be surprising considering how much I had to talk about to go over the subconscious mind in general, or as it relates to chakras and or virtues. But the subconscious mind is really a conduit for the conscious and the superconscious mind to talk to each other. So there's not a lot of use for it, or not a lot of direct use for it. And there are some very useful, important things like dreamscaping or dream walking or lucid dreaming. It's all the same thing, just a different name. And I'm going to get into those on the next episode. So, as always, I wish you all the very best of luck with your research, and go in peace.